So you have found yourself living to paycheck and you don't know what you're going to do. Let me tell you, you are not alone. Studies show that upwards of 60% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and many don't know how to get out of it. They don't know what to do. I'm going to show you today on this video how to go from living paycheck to paycheck to actually having money to invest and even save for the future. Now, I want to start off by telling you a little story. And the story goes like this. When I was a young boy, my parents and my grandparents in this mobile home park, they had 16 units that they rented out. And I would always help my parents. I would help my grandparents with whatever needed to be done, whether it was mowing the grass or fixing leaky pipes or you name it, whatever it was, they wanted me to help them. And I was a young teenager. I was helping them with all these things that need to be done with the rental properties. Well, one day I was helping them out with the rental properties, and I was kind of complaining, saying, when am I going to get paid? When am I going to get a paycheck? And my grandfather stopped me and said, listen, in those musical instruments that you have that we bought you growing up, I played musical instruments and I had all kinds of musical instruments. He said, those musical instruments you have, the vacations we were taking, sometimes 2, even 3 trips a year. He said, what pays for those things? The rental properties. And something clicked in my head. And he said, you say you're not getting a paycheck, but all of these things that you're enjoying come from the rental property. Now, I was still a knucklehead, and years later they offered to give me this mobile home park, and they said I could take it over. And I said, I don't want that. I had grown up dealing with all the things that had to be done with the mobile home park. I just didn't want to be involved in it anymore. And so I made one of the biggest and worst mistakes of my life, and I let them sell that mobile home park rather than them keeping it. And I could have just managed it. I could have just gave them a paycheck, and I could have enjoyed having a mobile home park that I was running for the rest of my life. I could have gave it to my kids and so forth. But the good news is, years later, got out of my knucklehead syndrome. I started buying rental properties, and slowly but surely I acquired. Now I have 7 rental properties that are bringing in monthly income. It's a great wealth building tool that I've acquired, and I'm going to be able to pass it on to my kids. And so you may be saying, well, what do I do? How do I get from the paycheck where I am right now to eventually maybe owning rental property or having a passive income that I can either maybe retire or at least be supplemental to my current paycheck that's not enough to provide for my family? So I want to tell you on today's episode how to do this. And some of the tools that I'll teach you, you can start today. You don't even have to wait. You don't even have to have any money to do these things. You can start today with 0 money just by simply doing some creative things to get the ball rolling. I look at it this way. We just had a big snow here where I live, and my kids got out in the snow and they made a snowman, and they started off with a small ball that they took and had on the ground, and they started rolling it. And as they rolled it different ways, it got bigger until they had the body of the snowman. And then they did the same thing again to make the next piece of the snowman. And then a little bit of a smaller head. But that initial first snowball that they had that they rolled, they couldn't get a whole big snowball together to make the body. They had to start with what they had, and they had to increase it by getting a little more. And that's how you are going to be able to get from paycheck to having money for savings and investing. And some of the tools you can use, you got to learn how to hustle. You got to learn how to stop making mistakes and just get out there and do it. And some of the tools you can do is you can start DoorDash or Instacart, or you can, if you have a vehicle, you can do those things. And you say, well, maybe you say, I don't have a vehicle. I don't have a working vehicle to be able to do these things. Well, there are little things that you can create. If you like writing, there's an app called Fiverr that you can take and create things, and you sell it on this app. And so there's different ways. You got to think creatively how to get that ball rolling. That's not going to give you enough maybe to live off of, but it's going to give you enough to start saving where you can roll that into an investment. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is if you're thinking right now, maybe you're at the point where you're like, I don't want to rent anymore. I really want to buy. And maybe you've talked to a loan officer and they've said you could go ahead and you could buy today. Think about this. Before you pull the trigger on buying a single family home, try and find maybe a duplex or even a triplex. Now, this is if you're at the point of buying a home, but think about buying a duplex or triplex. Now, if you buy one of these, you still only have to put down, if you're going to live in one of the units, you still only have to put down 3 to 5%. If you're in the military, you can get a VA loan where you put 0 down. And then you have closing costs, of course. But if you can get to the point where you can purchase that duplex or that triplex, you can rent out 1 or 2 of those units and live in the other one. And that rent from that 1 or 2 units that you're renting out can cover your mortgage. Now you don't have a mortgage. You're living rent free. So that's how you can start getting that ball rolling. If you're ready to purchase a home, don't think about purchasing a single family. Think about purchasing a duplex or a triplex, something that's going to give you multiple. Or if you do, maybe you've already purchased a single family home. Think about renting out a couple of your rooms in your home. That's an easy way to get started, especially if you're single, you're not married yet. You can rent out a room in your house. Now, you have to share the property. You have to share the kitchen and maybe the living room. But if you have a 2 or 3 bedroom home, you can rent out 2 of those bedrooms and have a couple of roommates living there, making your mortgage payment for you. So there's a lot of different ways to get that ball rolling, but that's the key, is to get the ball rolling. And it can be as easy as DoorDash or Instacart, just building up a little bit of money to get started with. Don't take that and just say, well, I'm just going to save all that money. That's good. You need a savings, but you need to get to the point where you can have maybe $10,000 or $15,000, something saved up where you can invest that into whatever it is that you want to invest in. And another thing is, if you are living at home, say you're 18, 19, 20, even 20 or 21, whatever, and you're able to stay at home and live with your parents, take that time to be able to work a job or start a business, get it rolling, start saving money while you're living at home. Don't be quick to rush and get out. I know you may say, well, I just want my own place, but take your time and eventually you'll get there. I like what Dave Ramsey says, live today like nobody else, so that tomorrow you can live like nobody else. And it's easy to say, well, I want this and I want this. And guys, we all have wants. We all have things we want. But if you let those wants right now be what's most important, you don't have that money to be able to invest for down the road. So I just encourage you, get that ball rolling. If you need help, chat to me through email, snjrentalproperties@gmail.com, or you can put a comment on this video. Please comment, subscribe. It really helps a lot. Share the video so that people can knowledge from it, just like you're getting knowledge from it. And we'll see you on the next one.